Pennsylvania Ford dealer.
An Oakwood woman who sunk her hard-earned money into a new driveway is now watching that driveway sink into the ground. Well, finally, she asked our troubleshooter Tim Taylor for some help.
Mrs. Helen Jansen told me she had the new driveway installed last August at a cost of $550. About 6 weeks later, the entire right side of the drive began sinking into the ground, just a few feet from where a new sewer line was installed earlier in the summer, something the contractor said would not happen, according to Mrs. Jansen.
When I was going to have the driveway put in, I asked the fella with the source being put in if it would be all right for the drive to be put on or if it would sink. And he says no, that there would be no problem. But after about 6 weeks, it sunk down. And ever since then, I've had trouble trying to get this fella to come here to fix it. He put in gravel temporarily and promised to come in the spring to do it. And all I've had is trouble with him. And my guarantee is going to expire in August. And I'd like to have the work done. So I turned to Tim Taylor to see if he could do something about it.
The contractor tells me that he was the one who suggested that they not pour the new driveway until after the sewer had settled. So he says it's really not his fault, but he promises me that he will make the necessary repairs before next Friday. That is, if Mother Nature cooperates. For Eyewitness News, this is TV5 troubleshooter Tim Taylor.
Well, it now appears that mini-mall concept of several small shops operating under one roof is running into some real problems here in Greater Cleveland. Recall on Wednesday, the landlord of the county fair in Parma Heights shocked the merchants there by shutting down that huge building and giving them till July 10th to clear out. Well, now it seems the Grand Central Station in Willoughby, which operates under the same concept, is also in trouble. We found that mall nearly deserted today. The merchant population has fallen from an original 127 stores when Grand Central Station opened in March of last year to the present 24 stores. The manager, Joe Polakowski, told our Tim Taylor that Grand Central Station also is going to close its doors, but only temporarily.
Well, Tim, we plan on closing for approximately 30 days. We plan on reopening the building with approximately 40 shops, good business people, and we hope that will make the building go and that will better for the consumer.
Joe, do you still believe in this concept?
Yes, I do. I've been all over eastern United States and checked out the same kind of buildings, the same concept, and I know that can work.
One other thing, during that 30-day shutdown, the mall will be physically altered to bring the shops closer together with just 2 or 3 aisles and a total of at least 45 qualified merchants.
Dave, again today, firemen were recalled to the scene of a huge fire. Every day this week, in fact, the remains of the building at East 55th and Huff that were destroyed in a fire Tuesday have rekindled. The firemen tell us that it's a problem they often have. The walls and ceilings of a big building collapse, trapping some smoldering embers inside. Eventually, no matter how much water they pour on it, heat builds up and the fire rekindles. This time, they hope that it's out for good. Those explosions we've been hearing in our neighborhoods the past few days are the first volleys of this weekend's big fireworks barrage. Unfortunately, though, many of those are being detonated not by professionals but by kids. We have a warning now from TV5 staff physician Dr. Ted Castell.
Here in my hand are fragments of firecrackers set off in a vacant lot by children playing. Each year, dozens of children seriously injure their hands in Greater Cleveland by playing with firecrackers. Fingers and thumbs can actually be torn off a child's hand by the force of a firecracker explosion. This can require multiple painful operations, even to restore some degree of usefulness to the hand. So don't let your children play with firecrackers, and do make this bicentennial 4th of July safe. One that you'll always want to remember, and not a tragedy that you won't be able to forget. For Eyewitness News, Dr. Ted Castell.
Down in Akron, the City Council Public Safety Committee is looking at a new law that would either restrict or completely outlaw ice cream trucks. That issue has become an emotionally charged one, and more than 200 people showed up this morning for a public hearing at the Morley Health Building. The committee chairman, Don Plasquelic, is trying to get public input on the law. The law was proposed after a small girl was killed over a year ago when she was running to an ice cream truck.
About 15 years ago, Ohio was terrorized by Frank Sprins, the flying bank robber. He became sort of a folk hero, robbing banks and then stealing airplanes to make his getaway. Well, the FBI says Sprins is at it again. They arrested him in Vermont today and charged him with being one of the 3 men who robbed a bank in Canton last month. The other two are 55-year-old Joe Hipp of Akron and an Illinois man. All three are charged in the June 23rd robbery of the Belden Village branch of the Harder Bank in Canton, and we haven't confirmed it yet. However, one of the stories making the rounds these days is that Sprins flew a getaway plane once again from the nearby Akron-Canton airport.
Dorothy Fuldheim joins us with her comments on the news in just a moment.
And we have the story of a big jamboree of CB buffs, so stay with us.
Special moments. Times of your life you'll want to remember. In pictures. To help make those pictures look as good as they can, make sure Kodak paper is behind them. If you don't see these words, it isn't Kodak paper. Ask for it where you get your pictures. Kodak paper. For a good look at the times of your life.
Did you know that the maker of Mott's applesauce is also America's leading maker of prune juice? While Mott's never owned the brand, we've made Sunsweet prune juice since 1933. Now, Mott's makes a richer, tastier juice. We call it Super Mott's Prune Juice, with vitamin C added and 10% more prune solids than required by U.S. government regulations. Super Mott's gives you more of what you buy prune juice for. Super Mott's Prune Juice.
And now with her Friday commentary, here's Dorothy Fuldheim.
David, 600 persons are on death rows in 30 states, waiting to hear their fate. Now, the Supreme Court today upheld capital punishment laws in Georgia, Texas, and Florida, but struck down laws of North Carolina and Louisiana because they provide no discretion at all for juries and judges. They violate, said the Supreme Court, the Eighth Amendment ban against cruel and unusual punishment. But by a 7-2 decision, the court said that laws which provide specific standards for judges and juries to determine if a crime is so heinous that death penalty should be meted out does not violate the Constitution. Before the death penalty can be imposed, there must be specific jury findings, the Supreme Court of the United States said, as to the circumstances of the crime or the character of the defendant. The state Supreme Court thereafter may review the case to ensure that the death sentence is not disproportionate to the crime. Now I ask you, what philosophy should prevail? The Mosaic law of an eye for an eye, or Jesus' noble statement, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do? But just observe, David, the effort of the state to be just. The accused has a trial, their witnesses, an opportunity to vindicate his reasons for killing. 12 citizens listen to the trial and then bring a verdict. The judge, the lawyers give the prisoner every chance to establish his innocence or the reason for the killings. But I ask you, what opportunity does the victim have to plead for his life? The answer is none. For example, the 8-year-old girl that was killed last week here in Cleveland, what opportunity did she, the victim, have to save her life? The answer again is none. For whom shall we weep? The victims or the killers? The Supreme Court's decision says clearly that the death sentence may be imposed only if the court and later the state Supreme Court decide that the murderer, the killing, was wanton and deliberate. What shall we, a civilized society, do to stop crime, and the ultimate crime of all, killing? All my instincts are against state executions. But what shall one say in the face of this rising tide of crime that is engulfing us and filling our lives with terror? To whom does one owe allegiance? To the killers or to the victims? The big question is, David, what can we do to deter murderings?
Well, we're at least going to get a chance to see if this does turn things around a little bit. The stock market turned around a little bit today. It closed for the holiday weekend on a slightly higher note. The sales were light by 1976 standards, just over 16.5 million shares. But there was enough demand in that trading to send all of the averages up. Dow Jones Industrials closed at 999.84, a gain of 5 points, and the average share picked up 17 cents.
Well, the Eastern Seaboard has had quite a treat this week, viewing